But I think just semi-professionalism, I don't even prefer it to go fully professional, to be honest with you, rather than semi-professional. I think it's a halfway house.
Really?
There's another sport in this country that has been a shambles as far as I can see in terms of semi-professionalism. So I wouldn't like to see it, and I don't think it would work, because you're now bringing serious legal and administrative stuff into teams like this. So who's going to look after the tax and all of that? So I know you're going to have to hire a clerical administration in each county to actually look after this, or in Croke Park or somewhere. So I think just throwing that out is like the politicians. It's a nice political grab, to be honest with you. But does anybody think behind it? What would you need?
The GAA Hour is sponsored by Paddy Power. For exclusive content from their GAA ambassadors and other high-profile contributors, check out news.paddypower.com.
So we're finally here, lads. The championship is on top of us. We have Tipperary going to Cork. We've Clare going to Waterford. Big one in Leinster, and it's Dublin going to Noel Park. We obviously have Joe McDonagh Cup. We've Galway playing Carlow. We can finally start talking about some hurling without the caveat of we don't know what they're doing in training. We don't know. They're trying out their panel. We're not sure if they're really focused. Now we're into the big time. Thank God we're on May the 9th. I'll go to Michael on this, Cheddar. You don't usually get as excitable as me about these kind of things.
Yeah, it's been a slow month, Willie.
It must be an age thing, Willie.
The only thing that put a smile on my face, which I had recently, was the Dublin Masters footballers. They had a great win there recently.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Alan Brogan was on the football show and made sure to remind me of that as well.
Great.
Yeah.
I seen the white boots, so you were looking trim. I can't wait now. It's been a slow month, and it's the most passionate I've felt for a match, Willie. I'm going down Saturday night, and I cannot wait to go to Nolan Park. I'd say the atmosphere is going to be great. I'll be down there with the mum and dad early, and the mug of tea and the few sandwiches she has them made already, and it's just, there's an optimism, especially around Dublin now, for this game. I think Dublin are going in stronger than ever for championship, and I think when you look at this Kilkenny side, they're actually going into the championship weaker than they were in the league, and they struggle throughout the league. Yeah. So I think if Dublin don't win on Saturday, I think it's down to a mentality rather than a performance.
Yeah.
So they need to show a bit of balls about them, because they went to Semple Stadium against Tip in the quarter-final of the league, and they had that defiance about them in their face. Didn't care it was Tip, didn't care it was Semple Stadium. I think if they bring that attitude to Nolan Park on Saturday evening, they'll come out with a win. Yeah,
Nolan Park, will you go over to that, Cheddar? Nolan Park's a great venue. I love it because, you can have a pint up the town in Kilkenny. It's a nice stroll, not too far. It's not like Semple Stadium is a bit too long of a stroll for me from the town. Nolan Park is a lovely, lovely venue, and Kilkenny is a great city. And Jesus, I'm nearly talking myself into going over there on Saturday night now.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect venue. Great atmosphere there as well. It's one of these stadiums where the crowd's near the game and that. And there just always seems to be a great atmosphere there. I mean, lots of club finals and down in Kilkenny, and you always go away, as you say, a little bit of a pep in your step. There's always there's just that special atmosphere about the place and that. Incidentally, I will be in Tullamore, Wooly, because I'll be supporting our own county, obviously against Offaly.
Clashes, yeah.
Unfortunately, it clashes. I'd love to go to that game. I think I agree with Michael. It's going to be a cracking game. There's a lot of ingredients there that's going to make it very, very even, and it's going to be a hugely contested game. Because I think, the Munster boys talk up Munster as they usually do, about the competitiveness of the province and that. But actually Leinster is quite competitive as well. And, you do need to be winning your home games, because, you lose one, then you go away the next week and you lose that, and you're under pressure straight away. So it's really important, as you said earlier on, Willie, look, it's full on out here for everybody. There's no holding back here or anything.
Yeah, I won't bring up RTE schedule and wind the two of you up. I was talking to Derek McGrath last week that they hopped off the Munster Championship, and they're only showing 2 Leinster Championship. I think it's 10 Munster Championship games before the final and only 2 Leinster Championships before the final. So they've fairly nailed their colours to the Munster mast. But we'll keep the Leinster flag flying here, lads. We've Galway, Kilkenny, Dublin and Wexford. There's
Well, you come in with fairness on that. Look, RTE are a commercial organisation. They're going to go with the ones that...
Well, they're a national broadcaster too.
I know they are. But, the issue here I have is with the GAA. They call the shots on this. RTE will do what they want to do in terms of commercialism and so on. What's amazing is that, all the Joe McDonagh matches seem to be on a Saturday. Some of them in the middle of the day when a lot of people are working. We might come to that later on.
Yeah.
But I don't blame RTE in these things. There's competition now from Sky and everybody else. They kind of just, do what might be the right thing to do. And obviously, pounds, shillings, and pence makes a big difference here for everybody. But look, the GAA should hold them to these things. That if we give you these matches, you've always got to do these other matches.
Yeah, a split between Leinster and Munster. Yeah, it's true. It is difficult to blame RT on that. You mentioned home advantage being important. You have to win your home games, and there's some stats around this. Like last year, if you remove Offaly from the equation, who probably weren't at the pitch of it, there were only 3 away wins in the entire Munster and Leinster round robin. So Kieran Shannon did some stats on this in the Examiner, and in 14 Munster Championship games from 2010 to 2017, where there was a home and away arrangement in place, the home team prevailed 71% of the time. Right? Then he said they were saying, Christy O'Connor had this on the RT website, in an overall context, 116 of the 176 games played in Division 1A this decade have been won by the home side. 15 have been draws, and the away side have won on 52 occasions. In other words, 66% of the points have been claimed by the home side. This is a big advantage. Sometimes in GAA, it's so huge in soccer. The only time people talk about it really in GAA is when Dublin play in Croke Park, whereas home advantage is big all the time. And I suppose with the big crowds in the provincial venues, Cheddar, that's probably where that advantage comes from.
Yes, it is. It's probably more than that, Oli, to be honest with you. It is hugely advantageous to you. Just think of it for a minute. Some viewers mightn't be aware of the preparation that will go into county teams where you meet beforehand. All of these things now are timed down to the last minute. I would only second guess that the John Kyles of this world would know exactly how long it takes him to go from his house to the actual training ground in Limerick or to the stadium in Limerick. So having rehearsed that a number of times, even as a player, you know exactly what's expected of you. You know all the times, nothing's new to you. And then you go into the field itself to play, and just picture for a minute that you're a forward here. All good forwards would have sort of natural things around the pitch to look at, to line up where the posts are. That it might be necessarily the post. You could have your game plan, puck out space around, aiming for the goal stop post and that. And of course, they're going to be different from pitch to pitch. So it is important, and it probably is worth a little bit to you. And I'm going to quote a very good friend of ours, Cahir Healy, who will also say the opposite to that. Look, it's a pitch, it has grass, it has 2 goal posts. What's different about it? There's a little bit of that in it as well. You can go into a new pitch and be energised by that. But I just think it is advantageous to you, and not necessarily. It is advantageous to you as a player in the pitch. Everything. You train in the pitch, and you do all your shooting practice and that there. And as a defender, you know where the spaces are in the pitch. But it's outside of that as well. It's the preparation beforehand, where you meet up, the timing it takes you to get into the stadium. All the warm-up area, all of those things are sort of important. I suppose what you're looking for really is just to get back to habits, what you normally do, what's your routine and all of these things. And if you get all of that done very well, you just go through it.
The travel as well, Willie. Most teams have at least 2 hours to get to a venue if they're away team, and you have managers staying the night even before games, which I never like doing because I'd like to sleep in my own bed before a championship match.
That's a big thing, is sleeping in your own bed.
Yeah, but some lads say, look, we're not travelling, we're not sitting on the bus, you're not getting stiff for the next morning for the match. But to me, a good night's sleep's much more important than sitting on the bus for 2 hours. I wouldn't really think of it too much, but all these things have taken into a huge account for players. Just preparation, as Cheddar said. Yeah,
because I see Clare are staying the night before the Waterford match, and it's 2.5 hours from Ennis to Waterford City. Yeah. So they did that in the league, and maybe it worked for them. But I'm the same as you, Michael. I'd sooner sit 2.5 hours on a bus than sleep in a hotel bed, because it's hard enough. I'd have a few pints when I'd sleep in a hotel bed, and I find it hard to knock off. Never mind before a match. I just would find that horrific to be in a hotel room I don't know well, a bed I'm not comfortable in, and
who you're with, they don't watch telly,
and have a roommate. Have a roommate there. I've done it before with international rules, and I remember being up in Dublin, and I was rooming with Finn Barcullen. Do you remember him? Played with Offaly, and he was watching Match of the Day. I hadn't got a run at all the first game, and I ended up going out the Friday night before the second one because I didn't think I'd be on the panel. And the next minute the squad is called out and I'm on it, and I went, shite. So I go up to bed then after the meeting, and it's about 9, half 9, and I'm trying to get tucked up and get to bed early. So I'm dying, and this lad's watching Match of the Day. And but the point I'm trying to make, I'm sure players these days wouldn't be worried about hangovers. But Cheddar, I don't know. I would sooner go on the bus than stay in a hotel.
I think it's the journey. Look, the science people would tell you that the body clock. You. Yeah, the body clock. It changes when you do a long journey like that. I'm surprised actually. about Clare. I'm surprised about two things about Clare, I suppose, really, that they are doing that. Because I didn't think it was that terribly far away. Bear in mind that most of the Clare players are in East Clare, which is pretty close to Limerick. But I'm more surprised that they didn't test and trial this in the league match and know exactly what it is. So you're now going to go in.
I think they stayed there. I think they stayed there before the league game. So
did they?
So they had to do one or the other.
That explains
they chose staying there.
Now, if they did, that would make real sense, and I would have been surprised if that wasn't the case.
Yeah. What about when you're talking about routine of the day, Cheddar? Would you be a man for having a meeting that morning? I remember going to Laois matches, away matches, and you might stop off somewhere for food on the way up, and suddenly this turns into a team meeting. And is it too late the day of a game to be having these meetings, or does it impact on your kind of routine?
Look, it depends on the game, I suppose, and it depends on the team, Wooly, and it depends on if you have changes made to your team, and it depends on if you have changed the game plan. You might just need to rehearse it and refresh it, I suppose, in players' minds, and just focus the mind, really. It depends on where you do it. But I just think that they're good things, but you really need to know your team. Some teams don't like that. It fatigues them mentally, and some players don't like that. Too many meetings is more fatiguing than any training session.
Yeah.
So you really need to know your team and need to know your players, and need to know the circumstances of the game and that. I think if there's new things going on that you just wanted to refresh the key points of again, then there's value in doing that. But if you feel that your team is well up for it, and look, you're judging this the whole time as a manager and a management team, you're looking at everything in the morning when they wake up, who's up first, all of these things, what's their mindset, where are they, and if you think that things are okay, well then you just go ahead with it.
Right, okay. If you see a bit too much messing on the bus, maybe you might have to pull,
I remember
maybe.
Dale had a massive row with us on the way to Galway, going down to play, and next thing all you hear is fucking Berbertop, because we were talking soccer down the back, like just as you do. It's a long trip down, and a few soccer questions start getting thrown around, and he lost the plot now because we got hammered, and then the dressing room across was brought up, and then the bus was silenced then for every other trip for the year. But look, I found throughout my career that there used to be an hour before the match, meet up in Parnell Park or meet up in Croke Park, and then if you had a 4 o'clock game from our last few years, you were there at 11, as a team for a home game, having breakfast together, it wasn't so much as a meeting, it was just having breakfast, getting focused, being around each other. I didn't really like it, to be honest with you. I found the day was long, but
I think if you're taking a 2.5 bus journey and the match is at 2, you don't have time for meetings, you don't have time for much else. So if you stay in the hotel, you're more, I do think that the hotel and the sleep is terrible disadvantage, but your next morning is a much more relaxed, easy going morning. Go for a walk, take it easy.
And it can be the opposite too, Willie. Depends on, there's a lot of I suppose variables about this, really. It depends on what time the game is at. If it's at 3 or 4 o'clock in the day, then you're messing around all the morning trying to punch in time. And I think, look, players are much more sophisticated in how they approach things, certainly, than they were in my day. Most players now have motivational music or motivational speeches or something like that they would listen to themselves, that primes them for the game. So I don't think there's a lot of variables in it that you sort of need to know about, that you don't arrive undercooked to the game, as Michael has explained here a minute ago, or overcooked either. I mean, you brought up the issue about the meeting. That can put pressure on a team as well, and they can go nervous into a game. So it's the context of the game, really, Woody. It varies from game to game.
Used to be the telly in the corner of the bus with the Braveheart video.
Yes.
That's what, the thoughts are going
What we used to do back in the day, because obviously Armagh in 2002 when they won the All-Ireland, they'd been watching this. Do you remember the movie with Al Pacino with the inches speech at the end? Any given Sunday or something.
Yeah.
So this filtered around the squads, and everyone's copycats. So suddenly then every away game we've this on we've this movie on the bus.
That's crazy.
And it's that kind of thing. But then I think it kind of evolved, and players started picking music, and I think that's what they're doing now. And some teams play music in the dressing rooms, which is a new phenomenon. I'm not sure if you would be a fan of that, Cheddar, with some of the tunes some young of the lads would be picking.
I do struggle a bit with the music already now, in fairness.
Quickly, lads, I want to talk about Johnny Glynn, because we know now that he's going to come home again this year. We know Joe Cooney's back, so obviously Galway's squad looks an awful lot stronger. Johnny Glynn made a comment I thought that was interesting. He said, everyone is saying how tough it is going to be, but it's not. If anyone else had the opportunity to do it, they'd do it. It's the best of both worlds, and I'm just happy to give it a go. And that kind of I don't know, it just hit home with me saying it is the best of both worlds. Like, I mean, it really is fairy tale stuff that Johnny is allowed to do this again for a third year, live in New York and come home and play hurling. Like, I mean,
he's living the dream, Willie. Like, and I love his honesty, because he doesn't like, oh, look, it's tough. It's brilliant. Like, if you got a chance to go abroad and play, and you knew you'd be back for the serious end of hurling of the league, and I think he's spot on. Like, I don't know many young lads who wouldn't want to do what he's doing. It's just, you have to be the top end of your career, like, to be really important within your panel to do it.
Oh yeah,
you know,
because there's not many
he's
managers.
In a lucky position,
he is.
You need him there. You know,
he's important, and there's not many managers, Cheddar, would do it though, is there? Let's be honest. Like, I don't think if I was a manager, I would be bringing a fella at a club level. I would. At an inter-county level, I'm not sure if I would be bringing a fella home from America.
I think it depends. Really, it depends on. Look, is this work related? Does he have to do it? You know, look, Shane O'Donnell is another example. He got an incredible opportunity to go study in the States that not too many people in life get, let alone in hurling gets. And I think it's a massive reflection on sports people and on hurling people to be able to actually get that opportunity and still be able to maintain a top hurling career. Now, what are you going to say to Shane? Look, pick which you want, Shane. Pick your study in one of the top universities in the States, or pick Clare hurling. And I think the answer to that would be pretty clear. So I think it comes back to a culture. But by the way, he's not the first Galway player to do it. Jerry McNerney done it 20, 30 years ago, and he was a fair hurler that you certainly wouldn't leave off your team when they won All Irelands. So I think it comes back, Willie, to trust. And is somebody monitoring the fitness of the player and all of the other parts of the player?
He's training away. He trained away with the New York footballers.
If those things are in place and you and the rest of the panel are satisfied with that, well, then there's no problem. Once you can trust those things, there's no problem. Once everybody knows that this is not a sort of a rabbit that's pulled out of the bag at the last 5 minutes, and if the numbers 20 to 30 in the panel are wondering, well, what's going on here? Once there's clarity around all of those things, I wouldn't see an issue with any of that.
Yeah, so he definitely is living the dream. I'd love to have been based in New York when I was playing with Leeds. I don't know if I'd be trusted over there. Finally, lads, before we get on to...
Willie, in fairness, now you didn't come into mind when I was talking about
I used to go the other way, Cheddar. I'd leave to go to New York. So we'll talk to Noel McGrath in part 2. So I met him in Croke Park this week at a cool camp launch. Finally, I want to talk to you before that, lads, is Paul Flynn's comments, because this affects both hurling and football, and he's obviously the CEO of the GPA, and he made some comments about semi-professionalism, and he says the amateur ethos of the GAA is important, and it's important to our members. However, at the same time, when we ask our members and we constantly survey them on issues, semi-professionalism is something that they would be interested in. There's an important distinction between that and full-time professionalism. I'm kind of on his side, as in everybody, when they hear professionalism, they worry about money and full-time, and it's not sustainable. And I don't think anybody really wants that, or if it's even possible. But is a handshake at the end of the year for these fellas? Because that ERSI report is said that they're putting in 35 hours outside their working life. Would a few quid at the end of the year, Cheddar, be the end of the world? I know it would be semi-professionalism, but the cat's out of the bag regarding professionalism now, Cheddar, because all the preparation is professional. The only thing missing from the professional side of the whole game really now is potentially a few quid at the end of the year.
Look, I think it's there needs to be a really good discussion around that. So I'll answer your question. No, I don't think it would be good. And I would say, well, look, where does it stop? Certainly any of the managers that I knew was involved in hurling took nothing out of the game. So do you pay the managers? And do you pay them the commensurate fee that they would warrant because of the job that they're doing? Do you pay the kit man who doesn't get paid? Do you pay, all the other people? Do you pay the county board chairman because he goes to more meetings than any player ever does? And so on, so on. So, I just don't think so. I think players need to be adequately compensated, absolutely. And I would actually say that again, trust comes into this in a big way. So you've got somebody that works on construction or something like that, and he gives up, maybe overtime on a Saturday or something like that. I do certainly agree that they should be compensated for that. But I think just semi-professionalism, I don't even prefer it to go fully professional, to be honest with you, rather than semi-professional. I think it's a halfway house.
Really?
There's another sport in this country that has been a shambles as far as I can see in terms of semi-professionalism. So I wouldn't like to see it, and I don't think it would work because, you're now bringing serious legal and administrative stuff into teams like this. So who's going to look after the tax and all of that? So I know you're going to have to hire a clerical administration in each county to actually look after this, or in Croke Park or somewhere. So I think just throwing that out is like the politicians. It's a nice political grab, to be honest with you. But does anybody think behind it? What would you need? And to be honest with you, I'd even take a step back further than that. Most players, or all players that I know, play for the pride of their county, their pride of their native place and all of that. And I just think that changes that dynamic massively. You're now playing for money. You can't dress it up any other way. So I just close on that, Willie. I would think that players should be adequately compensated for loss of earnings in any shape or form. I absolutely agree with that. But I think in setting up in a formal footing for semi-professionalism or anything like that, no, I would disagree with that.
Right. But why it doesn't have to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be pride of place, playing for your county, or money. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Can it not be both? Can it not be all the same things as you're doing now? But I would see it more as in, you're not being paid for money. It might be 4 or 5 grand for a holiday. Like, it would be a thank you at the end of the year for your efforts, for pretty much entertaining the whole country for the whole summer. And let's be honest, if like the kit man doesn't put in the 35 hours that the players do, they're not in the gym.
Willie, I disagree with that. I absolutely disagree with that. I can tell you, I've knowledge of that, and so have you. That kit men are there 2 hours before the training session and 2 hours after that. Put in an awful lot more than I would imagine, just pure time now, and maybe not the intensity of the work and all of those things.
Yeah, the pressure and all those kind of things.
And look, so where are you going to go with club players? And so on. Like, where does this end? And unless you talk this out and have real structure about it, don't throw out loose comments like that. I'm just surprised you threw them out, to be honest with you, because it was there was seriously no thought put into it as far as I could see.
Michael, what do you think?
I'd love to see players get that 4 or 5 grand at the end of the year, but
see, I'm on the same side, and I talked to Alan Brogan and Johnny Doyle in the last one. They're like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. But I like the way Cheddar give, like, it is thrown out there. There is a lot more to it.
How is it going to be regulated? It's impossible. And I agree completely. Kitman, like our kitman Ray, is still there with Dublin. He's a phenomenal amount of work, like, and he's hugely respected by the players. And where does it stop? But I just think these days with media, like, if you're a big profile player, if you do anything wrong, you're in the spotlight everywhere, and it's an awful lot for young people to take on. And nearly every inter-county player now is on social media and is in the spotlight within their county or their village. I just think, and the amount of work they put in, off hours and working at home or whatever they're doing in college, I just think it'd be great to get something at the end of the year like that. But again, I just don't see how it's viable at the moment. Unless, I can't see how it would be worked, that way. I honestly can't. At the moment, you have like teams where wherever media you might do, and it might go back into a team kitty, and that's what people are getting at the moment. I think throughout most panels.
Yeah. I think the issue, Willie, which you referred to earlier on, is that some of the management team are getting paid.
Yeah.
And look,
the nutritionist, the physio, all them,
and the conditioning and so on. But
some managers, probably.
And some managers are, Cheddar. I know you said there weren't. You're in the managers' union, but there are managers getting paid.
I'll be absolutely honest with you, Willie. Of all the ones that I knew, I'm pretty sure. Look, we don't know, but I'm pretty sure that they didn't. Now they may have got the very same expenses as players got from travelling distance or whatever. I don't know, but I certainly know of the ones I know of that none of them actually got any compensation whatsoever. I mean, nothing. But I was just going to come back to that point about qualified people. So look at the pressure that's on a county or on a management team, because the players expect the best. And you're calling in, highly qualified people. Most of these will have masters in strength and conditioning or in nutrition or in sports psychology or whatever it is, who could be doing an awful lot of work outside of being involved with teams. And you simply have to pay them. Otherwise than that, you're going to get half-rate people to do the work. So I struggle a little bit with that, Willie, in making a comparison then with players and then maybe with some managers and coaches and what have you. I struggle a little bit with that. But on the other side of that, you're going to have to say, well, does my team deserve the best that I can get them to be the best that they can be? Of course they do. Do we have to pay for that? Yes, we have to pay for that, otherwise you won't get them. And I think that just kills the argument or the discussion on that at that point.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Listen.
I'd say there's some serious mileage now for the country. They're all coming from Dublin, from Leith to Laois. I'd say our mileage was awful in Dublin because we were all living in there, you know.
Yeah.
But you'd be chasing them,
yeah.
you know. But I
that's
can
the
imagine
thing.
some of the country teams now, they're travelling some distances to training all the time.
Well, there's massive travelling expenses, like
Yeah.
I mean, and they do add up, you know. But like, I find it an interesting one. I find it like, I don't know. I think back when I started, right, you're talking about training Tuesday, Thursday, and then a match at the weekend, right? So you might be talking about a full 8-9 hours out of your life and a hobby levels. Now you're talking 35. Now you can't move from that to that and expect players to go, well, we're generating how much in gate receipts every year. Now this has become a huge part of my life where I can't ever work late. I can't stay in the office past 5. I haven't missed out on promotions. I have all these things. There's players choosing careers based on, like Johnny Doyle said on the football show, if he got a job that was going to interfere with football, he'd say, good luck job. Do you know what I mean? So now that it's such a commitment, Cheddar, this is not going to go away. This kind of players maybe wanting something for that level of commitment.
Yeah, no, that's true, and I certainly know an awful lot of players that have really, stopped looking at their work careers as such. And a lot of players go to college, and there's one probably not too far away from me who go to college for a number of years to allow them to play the, Gaelic at the very, very top level. But I just think I can only comment on our own county and Laois, and I think Laois County Board do look favourably on players in terms of travelling expenses and that. And look, we all know that some players, they might share cars or that and still claim the expenses. I think you can look favourably on some things like that players are not wholly out of pocket. I do take your point that it has a big effect on your life, massive effect on your life now. But if you're ambitious and your county's ambitious, what choice do you have? The only other side to that is the GAA bring in some regulations or rules that say, look, county teams are going to train 2 nights a week or something like that. Otherwise than that, and how would you actually regulate that?
To try that, that's not easy to do.
It's difficult. Yeah, it's a difficult one.
All right, okay, so I was in Croke Park, like I was saying, was at the launch of Cool Heroes, and I caught up with Noel McGrath, and that's up next. So we're in Croke Park here at the Cool Heroes launch. I'm with Noel McGrath. Noel, how's it going?
I'm good now, yourself?
I'm good. We're in the calm before the storm period here, right?
Yeah. It's fairly calm here today.
The storm of the Munster Championship is coming.
Yeah. It is, yeah, and it's great, really, to be honest. Like, it's why you train, like, is to get to this time of the year. And the last 3 or 4 weeks, the weather's been great and ball flying, like, and it's what you want to do, like, I suppose, and we are looking forward to it. Every team is looking forward to it, and once it starts, I'm sure the public are looking forward to it as well. Yeah,
is it difficult? Obviously, the April for clubs crosses over very close before it, and you're a dual player, and you're getting distracted in other ways when you really want to be focused on this huge competition.
Yeah, it is and it isn't, I suppose. Like, you're training with your county there, probably most teams since December. So like getting that little break is no harm, I think, to be honest. And you get to play matches, which is why you train. Like, so, I suppose with us this year, we were lucky everybody came through it fairly injury free. So lads were able to go straight back into training after it again. Like, so I enjoy it. I love going playing with my club. Like, and going playing the football as well helps to change it up a bit. So I enjoyed the April month there, and we were able to get, I think we've had 4 weeks into the Cork match now.
Yeah, because I think it was Michael Ryan was kind of alluding to the really hectic April schedule, for maybe not doing as much work as he might have liked coming into the Munster Championship. Has it been the same this year as it was last year?
I think I'm not exactly sure how many games we played last year compared to this year. We with Lockmore Castellani played 2 hurling and 1 football. Last year we might have played 4 matches, I'm not sure, but I think it was closer to the Munster Championship as well. Like, so right. It probably could have been a week or 2 less preparation. And lads played a lot more games last year maybe as well, I'm not fully sure. But look, I suppose last year was the first year of the new Munster Championship, so there was a lot of differences and we're getting used to it, but I think everybody is used to it now, and it's a great format. I think from a player's point of view anyway, it's brilliant, and hopefully it'll live up to last year again. Is there a little bit of pressure? Because we saw the RT schedule came out and they're hopping off the Munster Championship. They don't seem too interested in the Leinster one at all, but the whole country is going to be watching the Munster Championship this year. It was brilliant last year. Would you think about that, or would the RT schedule just give you that little bit more excitement about it, or? Not really, to be honest. from our point of view last year was we weren't in the thick of it when it came to the end of the year. We obviously were involved in some right good games in Munster, but we didn't get the results we were looking for. So this year we're trying to, I suppose, overturn that and get off to a good start. Pressure from outside, like, why do you play hurling? You play to play on the big occasions, to play in front of big crowds. So if there is a big build up to the Munster Championship or any game in the Championship, you want to be part of it and you want to get on the field. So look, I suppose I hope the bigger crowds come, and the bigger the crowds are, the greater the atmosphere, and I think players love that.
Yeah, you've definitely got a baptism of fire against Cork in Páirc Uí Chaoimh away on Sunday. So, like, I mean, it's not an easy start. And you were saying, like, last year you weren't in the thick of it, but you were. Like, I mean, it was the weight of a goalpost really from qualifying last year.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, we were in the thick of the Munster Championship, which was mad last year with the results from our games. Like, I suppose how close each one of them were. Come, especially the Clare game when, as you said, they were at the post. But I think we had 4 games in Munster Championship last year. We didn't win one of them, so you get chances to get through this group. Like 4 games, if you don't win one, I don't think you can have any complaints. And we didn't last year. Like we didn't get out of the group, and this year I suppose that's our aim. Like, but as you said, first match of the Championship down in Cork, like is as big a game as it gets. Like, they've won the last 2 Munsters. They were inches from being in an All-Ireland final last year, so it's great. Like, it's exciting. It's what you want to do, and I know as a player, it's the only place you want to be.
Yeah, it is. You have 2 All-Irelands, right? Like, I mean, a lot of people looking from the outside would think that you should have more, because when you won it back in 2010, like, people thought you might dominate, or you have a very young team yourself, and loads more had just come up. And then you went away for a while until 2 years ago, and then the same kind of conversation were being had 2 years ago, and you haven't been able to back it up. Why do you think that is? There's a little bit of inconsistency, or it's hard to put your finger on from the outside?
I suppose there's just so many good teams there. I suppose people, you said there we went away, I suppose we were still competing hard. Like, we won the Munster final in 11 and 12 after 2010. We lost an All-Ireland in 11. We got to All-Ireland in 14, won Munster 15, and we're back in 16 again. Like, so.
Yeah. Okay, you didn't go away.
Yeah,
right? Sorry about that.
And that probably was something that was branded at us, that we didn't push on. But I think if you see there at the moment, like over the last number of years, the amount of teams that are at a level, like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, and that are competing, and there's probably 9-10 teams that could go and win All-Ireland this year, like, which hasn't happened in a long time. Like, and every day you go out, you're going to have to be at your best, and that's why I know people be saying it's a cliche to say you can't look past the next game, but if you do, you're going to get caught. Like, so you have to be just focused on that first game for everybody, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, and Liam Sheedy's back, obviously. That's the big one. So is this a new Liam Sheedy, or is it the same Liam Sheedy?
I suppose Liam is a passionate man. He's driven, he's motivated, and he motivates players. I think everybody, I suppose, has seen that over the years from his time in management, and you can see him on the sideline, like, and how passionate he is, and he loves tip hurling, and players kind of feed off that, and they buy in behind it, and they row in with it, and look, it's good to have him back, like, but at the same time, we have to perform on the field. Like, you could have Pep Guardiola over you, but if you don't perform out in the field, that's where it counts and that's where it matters. So we can just, they've prepared as well, we've prepared well as a team, and now it's just about getting it out on the day.
But I suppose from the last time he played, it would have been the year, obviously, you're trying to knock Kilkenny off their perch, and you eventually did it. And the style was a lot different then. Do you know what I mean? So Liam obviously will have to have evolved with that new style, you know, or the coaching is different. Tommy Dunn's in coaching. Like, it's obviously has to be a different setup to probably what it was the last time.
Yeah, sure, look, it is, and it's different year on year. It's even different match to match now. Like, like back then it was 15 and 15 more or less every day you went out. Whereas now and I think it's great that the game is evolving, like, and people are going to try new things. Why wouldn't they? Like, everything evolves in the world, in life, in sport, so you have to try new things, and it's great. Liam, Tommy, Dara, like, they're all smart men. Like, it's not as if they've been out of the game for the last number of years. They've all been involved with their clubs. Some of them been involved with county teams at underage, so they've been involved in the game. They've learned the game. They've know the game as good as anyone. Like, so they've brought that with them, and I think it's exciting for everyone involved. Like, to be trying new things and having to work out different things for match day every day you go out. And like every team you play brings a different, asks different questions and different ideas, and you have to be able to answer them, and you also have to be able to look after yourself.
I think that's the style of play now where possession is the key and not wasting ball and no 50-50 balls as much as possible. I think naturally you have that from the Eamon O'Shea era anyways, because he coached you to give some lovely passes inside and not to be maybe giving it big long clearances and stuff like that. So to go back to that might be easy enough for you.
It definitely has changed. Like every team now, like you've a lot of ball players and a lot of teams who are very comfortable with playing ball 30, 40, 50 yards, and if needs be then they're able to play the 80, 90 yard ball as well. So there's a lot of variety there, but I think possession is a big thing now, but the skill levels are just so high from so many teams. Like it's what creates the excitement. I think it's what creates probably the big scores in games as well. Like because everyone's touch is in, and as a defender, if you're not on top of your man, there's going to be a score, and if you are a forward and you're not on with that touch, well, the defender's going to have it gone off you. So it's just about being right on the day and having all your skills at the best ability that you can.
Yeah. Are you enjoying midfield? You've been midfield this year during the league, right? So I presume that's the possession game. You'll use having a ball player further back the field to use it better is the thinking behind that.
I suppose I done all my hurling as a youngster in the half back line and midfield, and I only really became a forward probably around 2008 or 9.
Right, and you went straight into the corner forward.
Yeah,
then.
like I have been in school and that I was always midfield or maybe in the half back line at times. So.
Right.
Look, I suppose I hope I haven't lost any of the what I had when I was playing out there back then, and but I suppose the game probably has changed a bit since then as well, as you're saying, a lot more possession, and for a few years like midfield was probably a position that got bypassed a lot with puck outs going from one end of the field to the other and long ball. But there's probably a lot more action around there now. But I think the half back line, midfield and half forward line, all it kind of builds into one now. It's a condensed area. And
yeah, it is a war zone there really now, because a lot of the fashion is now for the half forward lines to be dropping back into that area. You've got your two midfielders and you've the half forward line from the other side. So you're all meeting each other in that little kind of middle third.
Yeah, it is. Like I suppose big in all the pitches are, it can get congested there, but I think that's another part of it too. Like it creates, you have to win ball there, dirty ball that's maybe on the ground, you have to win breaks, and like there's just so many different things going on all at once, like that you have to be prepared for them all. And look, if you're given a jersey for your county, you'll play wherever you're asked to play, and if I'm given one for any game in the Munster Championship this year, I'll be doing the best that I can and whatever I can do to help the cause.
Is there a temptation every year to kind of copy the All-Ireland champions, in that we know Limerick's system is so effective for them? Like, a temptation for ye is to say, well, we need to do what, you know what I mean, we need to get that, whereas ye seem to have, you don't have the half forward line, for example, that they would have big, huge, athletic fellas. You might have more scoring half forwards, so that wouldn't suit them to kind of do that.
I don't think if you go try and copy someone else, it's hard to copy someone else, and I don't think it's possible to do it. Like, and we've a panel of players, like, and you have to play to your strengths there, and whatever your strengths are, you're going to go out and do them every day. If you're trying to be someone else, I think you're looking outside of your own group and you're looking at too many different things. And I think concentrating on yourself and preparing yourself as best possible is definitely the best way to go. And every other team is going to be doing the same. Like, you play to your strengths, and whatever they are, you hope that they're good enough on the day.
Yeah, and like, I mean, coming into the Munster Championship, you've obviously games thick and fast. When you're trying to prepare for different teams, like, it's obviously a big challenge for management teams and even for yourselves, get the recovery done, and also prepare for a brand new team, which is throwing up completely different kind of, problems for you.
Yeah, I suppose as a player, you just get yourself to train and you get yourself to a match and ready to perform. In the background, I'm sure the amount of work that goes on with regards video analysis and looking at this, that and the other, like, and trying to look after a group of players and a backroom team. Like, there must be some work that goes into it, but as I said, as a player, your job is to perform and to train, like, so you just get yourself right for that. But I think it's great that the matches come so fast. Like, you're just, whether you win or lose, you just have to go again the next week. You can't feel sorry for yourself, or you can't go off celebrating and be happy because you won, like, so I think it's just like every sport in the world, there's continuous games, like, and I think hurling is going that way now, and 4 games in 6 weekends we have, like, and it's brilliant, like.
Yeah, that extra 2 weeks is making a big difference. That was the big complaint last year, it was unbelievably positive, the new system, but there's just that 1 week kind of break that some teams got that other teams didn't get. So that's been ironed out. Come here, just quickly, I don't know, the Munster Championship's so good and the All-Ireland Series is so good, and the league now has taken on much less importance, where it seems like a warm-up competition. Is that how it feels as you're going through the league? Like, I mean, we're playing a league, but there's a much more important league coming up in in a few weeks' time.
Look, at the end of the day, the championship is the be-all and end-all. Like, if everyone remembers a year by the All-Ireland champions, like not by league champions, or how you did in the league. But at the same time, when you go out in a league match, you want to give your all.
Naturally want to win.
Yeah, because you want to, and by not winning, like, you are disappointed. Like, but I think the fitness levels, the touch, the skill, the weather, the state of pitches, everything come championship is so much better. That's why the game is probably seems much faster, and obviously ball is moving a lot quicker come the summertime.
Yeah. Would there be shadow boxing if you're playing Limerick, for example, in the league, or the Munster teams especially?
I don't think so.
No.
Like, you don't want to lose any day you go out. Like, so the feeling of coming off the pitch after losing, and they're your rivals. So you want to be as successful as you can every day. So I don't think it's from a player's point of view, you're never going out there thinking it'll be okay if we don't perform today or don't win.
Yeah, but I think even tactically, because it was Brian Carroll is on the podcast, and he was at your Munster, the January competition, whatever that's called now. It's another Munster League.
Yeah,
not to be confused with the big Munster League. But you played Clare in it, and I think they had that big Guilfoyle lad, and they kind of showed their hand to ye. He did very well that night, and then for the league game, ye had learned from that, and ye had a kind of plan for himself. Maybe Conlon was inside or whoever, and ye learned from that. Whereas, is there kind of an idea during the league? I don't want to show what I might use in the championship, from that point of view, because you would learn. You don't want to show something that you might be holding back.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose. But at the same time, if you don't try it in then games, what you want to do, like, how do you know if it's going to work? Like, so it's probably getting the balance of it right. I'd probably be going on the side of you try what you want to do, because you can try it in train, you can try it in challenge matches as much as you want, but you can't beat that competitive nature of a game, like of a league or a championship match. And as I said, you go out and do your best every day. There probably is times when teams might hold things back, but once you get on the field, then you're not thinking of that, because instinct takes over and you're just caught up in it. So I think every day you go out, you just do what you can to win and do what you can to perform.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously you had that cancer scare back in 2015, so you're 100% moved on. Do you have to move on psychologically from that, where it might be in the back of your mind that it might come back, or are you?
It's definitely in the back of your mind. Like, I suppose it's something that's going to be with me forever. Like, I can't get rid of it. I can't say that I never had it. Like, and luckily I'm healthy and clear and able to work, able to play hurling, able to play football at my club, able to do all them things. But I suppose there's definitely things that remind you of it. It will always be something that will be associated with me. But I suppose I was lucky too, the fact that I was able to get back and play, that I was able to get back and train.
Yeah. You didn't need chemo then, did you? It was just
I just did it with 1 day of it, yeah.
One day,
yeah. So I didn't have to go through the rigorous rounds that a lot of people have to. Like, I do look at myself as being one of the lucky ones, like, that got in time and was able to come out the other side, because we've all heard the stories of people that haven't as well, like, and we all know people that probably haven't been as lucky as me, and I just count myself lucky, and every time that I get to go out and train and play, I know that I'm lucky to be able to do it, and as long as I'm able to do that, I'm going to stay doing it.
Yeah, and a lot of fellas watching this obviously wouldn't even be in the habit of checking themselves and making sure, that everything's all right, so you obviously noticed it at a very early stage.
Yeah, I did. Like, I couldn't but not notice it, to be honest. Like, it was just a massive lump, and to be honest, like, I would probably have been like any person, any man at that time, and try to brush it off for a week or two, and say, sure, look, I must have got a belt in train, or it's not, it'll be gone. But it was just not going, like, and I knew then that I knew I was in trouble and needed to get the help, like, and luckily I did, like, because another 3-4 weeks, another 6 weeks down the line, you just don't know, like, you just don't know, and there are questions, thankfully, I don't have to answer. Yeah,
and you made it back brilliantly for an All-Ireland semi-final. You got a great ovation that day as well, which must have been a nice feeling to get.
Yeah, it was, I suppose, like, looking back on it, it's nice, like, it was, and to be even able to come back and play, like, I had played 2 club matches before that, and even just to get back playing them, I didn't know if I'd get back playing with Tip, like, and the result didn't go our way, I suppose. But looking back on it, that's probably irrelevant in a lot of ways. That'll be something that in 10 years' time that I'll be able to say that I was able to come back as quick and play. Like, it is nice, like, because that's what I love doing and that's what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Finally, obviously Cork and Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Have you been down walking the pitch to make sure it's not a bog, or has there much thought been
No,
been
there
put
actually
into it?
hasn't really.
You trust Cork. It doesn't suit them to have a bad pitch anyway.
Well, look, I suppose it's the same for both teams, whatever it's going to be. But I seen a picture of it there last week, I think, or the week before, and it looked in serious nick. It looked great, to be honest. Like, so, what can you do if you go down and whatever it is, and both teams are going to have the same. So whether it's like it was in February or whether it's like it has been over the last 15 or 20 years, it's a great place to go. And with the new stadium, where else would you want
Fantastic.
to be?
Tipperary, Cork, Páirc Uí Chaoimh. It doesn't get any bigger really than that, does it?
It's great. Like, and going down to Cork, like, the Cork people love their sport. The Tip people are great followers of Tip, and look, it could be made for a great occasion, and hopefully the sun shines and the ball will be flying.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Listen, Noel, thanks very much.
No bother, Colin. Thanks
All right,
a million.
up next we will do Paddy Power predictions. Okay, lads, so we're going to start with the Leinster Championship because that's the big one of the weekend. I'm not going to buy into this Munster hurling malarkey with, like, all the rest of them. We'll start with Kilkenny, Dublin. It's on Sky Sports at 7 o'clock. I don't know, Cheddar. I know you wouldn't get from O'Connor Park at 5, would you, across to Nolan Park at 7? You never would. It's 5 o'clock to Laois one, yeah. So you'd never get across, no. This is one, Michael, that Dublin will think they've a great chance in. Like you said, Kilkenny have an injury crisis.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's unprecedented. They've 3 broken legs.
But
Am I right in saying that? Like, this is this is the spine of a team. This is
Joey
Murphy and
Holden,
goals,
Conor Delaney, Killian Buckley, Murphy,
and James Maher.
And that's your back fullback and backup fullback gone. But Dublin would want to win this game, Willie, without any of them injuries. Dublin are a form team in the league compared to Kilkenny. Kilkenny go out every game to try and win under Cody, so they're not hiding anything, they're not holding players back, and they still struggle throughout the league.
Yeah.
Whereas Dublin really impressed and imposed themselves on teams in the league. So they're going down looking at this, especially Owen Murphy's a huge one because he's so good in goal and he's so good at orchestrating, he's such a good shot stopper. Kilkenny are going to have a goalkeeper in goal on Saturday night that's probably never played inter-county championship. Never, so I'd be testing them all the time, and when Dublin have confidence, the young lads will have no fear for Kilkenny. And normally you look at Kilkenny and they get goals for winning matches, and apart, like, you have the TJ Reid, Walter Walsh, Colin Fennelly, they're the 3 dangerous, but apart from that, when you look through at that Kilkenny team, there'll be no fear there in that Dublin backline of marking him. And Owen O'Donnell has head up TJ Reid in the past. Will have no fear going in.
He'll go man mark him.
Well,
if
he does go in, he's better up a stick last year. Now, obviously, that mightn't happen again, but he knows he can do it.
But you couldn't imagine O'Donnell coming out from full back to play centre back.
No, he'll stay there. But like, if they rotate, it's going to be Fennelly, Walter Walsh, and he won't fear any of them because he's so good in the air. And Sean Moran is brilliant at mopping up ball around that back line, and he's been a huge asset for Dublin this year. So that spine, that Dublin team is huge, and they're playing brilliantly. So I'm really optimistic, and from speaking to the Dublin lads, they're going down here with nothing else but a win on their mind, and that was without the injuries happening, so. Yeah,
so Dublin have a few injuries themselves, like Cian O'Callaghan's out, but Conal Keeney, Liam Rush, Mark Schutte are all back now. Are they back fully right for this one? They are.
Yeah, full, ready to go. Like, Hedgehoe's missing, he split his hand open in a friendly there a few weeks ago.
He's out too.
But he'll be back within the next week or two. But when you have them 3 lads coming back in, they're huge assets and huge experience, and they know how to win games. So I just think everything is in Dublin's favour, Willie. And you look at this championship, I know I don't want to look too far ahead, but if they get a win here on Saturday night, they play Wexford in Parnell Park the following week. Wexford for the bye week, so they're going to be on the back burner straight away.
Right.
And then you're looking at a gap week, and then Carlow. Like, if you get 2 wins, you're looking at Carlow for a Leinster final. I just think it's Matty Kenny, like, everything is in his favour at the moment. So from a Dublin perspective, I think it's going to be a great championship.
They're bullish, Cheddar. There's no doubt about that.
As I said, I'm the most optimistic about Dublin in a long time. So I'm feeling.
But I am too. I fancy Dublin slightly. But that injury list, Cheddar. I'm sure Brian Cody will be looking at that April for club thinking we couldn't have got any unluckier out of that.
Yeah, no, it is. And I suppose from Brian's perspective, the difficulty is that most of them are backs, and but I certainly wouldn't underestimate Kilkenny. When you look at the strength that they have in their forward line, you're looking at Walter Walsh, TJ Reid, John Donnelly, Billy Ryan, Colin Fennelly, Liam Blanchfield, and there's a lot of young players there. That,
young Lahey too, he could be midfield.
Young Lahey, young Adrian Mullen Club Player of the Year, Niall Brazel is another one around there that won't be too far away from it, and you have Ger Elbert there as well, who's was a fantastic player a couple of years ago. So I think if he gets the back line right. And that is a bit of a difficulty, all right, because I'd agree with Michael that last year Dublin sort of bullied him in the forward line by putting high ball in on top of Liam Rush. I'm assuming Liam will be full forward again. But I'd say if that's the case, Kilkenny will have learned a lot from last year as well. I think there's a few really interesting. Sorry, there's one other thing. I think Kilkenny will not come out of Nolan Park easily losing a game in Championship. They might have done it in hurling, they might have done it in the relegation and that game. But this is a very, very different beast when Kilkenny come into Championship. But I think there's some interesting things about the game. I think if both teams contain game breaker players, they could make it easy for themselves, and Michael is right. Containing TJ Reid is very, very important, but can you spare Owen O'Donnell out of the full back line and shove him out the field? I don't think so.
Him versus Colin Fennelly will be a great battle. You'd imagine they'll pair off because physically they'll be able to.
But Kilkenny have a lot of players that can move around the place. They may not play a full forward on the square with him. Now, I thought he was a fantastic player. I saw him in the league. I thought Owen O'Donnell was absolutely brilliant. He certainly has improved. By the way, I would comment on John Hedrington as well, the most improved county player I've seen in a long time, and is certainly a loss to Dublin. But I just go back to Kilkenny have a number of things I think that if they get right, might make it very difficult for Dublin. And one of them definitely is puck outs. Pucking a high ball out to the Dublin half back line wouldn't make sense. Although they have some players like Walter and John Donnelly and Liam Blanchford who are big players themselves, but it wouldn't make sense. So Kilkenny have got to change a couple of things around that. And of course they're going to do it with a new goalkeeper that they may not have practice with. So that's going to be difficult for them. They have also contained Danny Sutcliffe. I think when Danny Sutcliffe is quiet, it's hard to see where the scores are going to come out of the Dublin forward line. And I'd probably say, Michael, I don't know whether you would agree with me or not, but Dublin played very well. I actually saw the league game down in Kilkenny, and they played very well, but they played very well in a containing way. And when the game was there to be won, they just didn't seem to have the firepower up front to go win it. And look, no better team than Kilkenny to grind you out for 45 minutes and then go for it. So I certainly would not be writing off Kilkenny. I think that Kilkenny also need to figure out what to do with Sean Moran. I think Dublin management say they don't play with a sweeper, but if they don't, if there's not 4 players on the half back line, I must be looking at the same games. So I think if Kilkenny stop Sean Moran from getting the head up and he's a fantastic player at this, one of the best around, mopping up, breaking ball, head up, delivering quality ball into forwards. And bear in mind, you might be a forward down at that stage, so the importance of the quality of the ball going is really important. I think if Kilkenny break some of those things, and they're going to come into Nolan Park, with very, very intensive game, So if they do, I probably would disagree with Michael. I just think that Kilkenny might have that extra edge just to sneak the win. But Dublin will never have a better chance. There's no doubt about that.
No, they won't have a better chance. I saw those quotes from Matty Kenny where he denied playing a sweeper against Limerick, and they played Barrett, who was a wing back at corner forward, and brought him back marking Garrod Hegarty. And then Sean Moran was freed up. So he just because Sean Moran's a centre back doesn't, and the extra forward came back to mark someone, it's still a sweeper. I don't know why why can't he just own that and say, I don't
know. Like he likes to say that Sean Moran drops deep, but his man is always being marked.
Because you bring a lad back to mark his man.
And he does it with cool as well. He's just so good. Sean Moran is so good at reading the game, and his distribution is excellent, and
he's quick,
and he can take a score from distance, like anywhere from 7 to 8 yards. If he's on his own, he will be able to score.
So they'll do that with TJ Reid, right? So Moran's not going to be following TJ Reid.
No, definitely not. So they'll either, say they might start Darragh O'Connell corner and bring him back and put him marking, and they're gonna free up Sean anyway in that half back line, and then Chris Crummy is playing next. Like that half back line is going to be really strong. Which say Shane Barrett, Sean and Chris.
Crummy will take up Walter Walsh forever.
I'd say so because high ball wise, I think Kilkenny are going to really struggle. And if you stop Walter, I think so. You might see Chris come into centre forward if Walter's there. So I just from hearing all the pundits, they're all going, Dublin will have a chance, but we're going for Kilkenny, which I'm really surprised about, because if any other team was missing all these players, you'd be saying, they're not going to win. Now I know it's Kilkenny and I know it's Nolan Park, but I just think they're missing too many big players to win this game, and they haven't been playing great in Championship. Now I know Cody's going to have them revved up and it's going to be a fantastic atmosphere, but I just think Dublin have this bullish attitude this year, and Matty Kenny's very unassuming, but he's very confident in what he does, and he has the whole team buying into the way he likes to play, and they've all settled in really quickly. And the young lads, I just think with Connell there and Mark, and Danny's the big one, as you said. If Kenny stop Danny, it's a big thing, but I don't think they have anyone there to stop him.
Right.
Because he's beaten Pádraig Walsh before, and they're going to have someone back there. So it's either going to be Paul Murphy or Pádraig Walsh more than likely going back full back. So they're losing another big name of where they want to play them.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't know who's going to pick him up, because he'll go across that line and win ball all day. I don't think they have a man there that's experienced enough to beat him.
Yeah.
So I just think on Saturday everything is in Dublin's favour. I really do.
It definitely is. How difficult, Cheddar, is it to keep out of their minds that Jesus, Kilkenny are missing all these lads and now we have a chance? Like, I mean, how will Matty Kenny be approaching that? Will he be like, in a way, psychologically, you'd nearly want Kilkenny at full strength for you to be taking it. Like, when they're that decimated and this is a very long injury list, like, how will Matty Kenny be telling his players, will he say, forget about the injuries? I know it's easy to say that, but you know, like the players, Michael's bullish here, thinking they've a great chance. Like, the players will be thinking in their own minds, we have a great chance here.
Yeah. Look, I suppose one of the things you could do is just put up the list of the alternatives of the people that are missing. And you're looking at Paul Murphy, Tommy Walsh, Pádraig Walsh, Paddy Deegan, and then the Morrissey, Jason Clear. You know, there's serious quality. I'm only talking about the defenders. I'm already after naming 8 or 9 forwards, and you throw in the likes of Conor Fogarty in the middle of the field and that. So their strength and depth and the quality of their backup is always strong, not just this year. The difficulty is how do you blend that in within a couple of weeks. So
that Hugh Lawler lad, he was nearly first choice fullback at the start of the league.
He could very well be, particularly if Liam Rush is full forward. Although Liam Rush, Michael will explain this better. Liam Rush is not a player to catch a dropping ball. He prefers a little
out
run
in front,
to it. And I think that's what caught out Pádraig Walsh a little bit last year. That he, I think if Kilkenny would put somebody in front of him and stop that run, it might cause difficulties for Liam as well.
The wingspan then, Cheddar, because he catches a ball nearly like that,
correct.
and you can't get near him because
he's a
hugely. Pádraig Walsh is brilliant, and he probably beat Rushy in the air for that dropping ball. But it's just that wingspan. He holds you back and he catches it out here, and it's so hard to get out there in front of him.
I think the other thing, Willie, just to answer your question, I think also is you're focusing on your own game plan. Get that to work the best way you can, and of course part of that is to counter whatever Kilkenny is doing. So regardless of who they have there, it won't make much difference if you can get your own game plan working really well, and particularly the key aspects of it. Well then, look, it doesn't make much difference who Kilkenny. Particularly if you were playing a possession game, you're retaining possession and not giving it away. So I would think that's what he'll be focusing on. More than anything, he'll be focusing on getting his own team to play in a certain way rather than fully focusing on just trying to stop certain Kilkenny players. Although you definitely need to stop TJ Reid and probably a couple of more as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I spoke to a few of the lads this week, and they haven't mentioned an injury to me. Well, it's just they don't really care. Like they're just going saying we're playing well, we're doing this, and that's the attitude. They literally haven't mentioned an injured player,
right?
And they're sort of saying as well that everyone's going against them, which I'd say that's probably what they're being told all the time. Like no one believes you're going to win down here, which they don't. So let's go down here and show them. Right. So I think that's their attitude.
I fully agree, and it should be. And under Matty, I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Bear in mind this man has experience of winning Club All Irelands back to back. So he knows what makes teams tick. I just make that comment that containing a team for a certain length of time and to put yourself into position then to build a platform to go win the game. Well, now you need to be able to go win it. Whether Dublin can change things around a little bit and particularly forwards and that to really go for the juggler in the last 10 or 15 minutes. I do think Kilkenny will be in the game. It's not that Kilkenny are going to just fade out of this game. They've never done it in I don't know 40 or 50 years. It's very unlikely, injury or no injury, they're going to do it now. So I think it's what Dublin and what Matty does just to tweak some things to give them more, I suppose, penetration up front, better scoring opportunity, score creation and that up front, and if they do then they might come out on the right side. But I just look at the quality of the replacements and that. I do agree, having 1, 3 and 6, the spinier team really, I think JJ mentioned recently, with a question mark over them, particularly against some big physical players. It is a risk, there's no doubt about that, but it's probably a small little bit less of a risk in your own pitch, as we've explained earlier on.
Yeah, okay, so we'll go 2 Dublins and a Kilkenny there, is that fair enough?
Yeah.
We'll move on to Munster, lads, because the big one for me down here is Cork and Tip, the big glamour game. Obviously Liam Sheedy's going back to Cork. where he went in 2008 in his first ever game as manager, and he beat them down there first time since 1923. So Tip do not have a good record in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Absolutely don't. I was reading Diarmuid O'Sullivan and he's talking about Cork and he's saying time is running out rapidly. He says Hoggy, Lehan, Joycey, Harnedy, Nasher, there's not too many more opportunities are going to come their way if it doesn't come right over the next 4 or 5 months. So what we do know about Cork is that they have Alan Cadigan back, they've Stephen MacDonald back, they've Aidan Walsh back. So their big problem last year is that they had no one to come in off the bench. Colm Spillane is out, unfortunately. Tim O'Mahony at number 6 is different. So, it's very difficult to judge Cork in the league. John Myler said, Cheddar, they won 3, lost 3. It wasn't the end of the world, in other words. And Cork are a Munster championship team. This is just going to be a completely different Cork this year as we saw so far this year, or Sunday as what we saw so far this year.
Yeah, no, look, I'd agree with that. All right, I did see Cork play in Nolan Park earlier on, it didn't look like the team that was really pushing on. Now, bear in mind they did come into the game after that and win it in the relegation, even though it was meaningless.
The other one,
yeah. But they still won it. I think they have a few newer players. I think Aidan Walsh isn't being mentioned, and and some people speak, don't speak very highly of him. I rate him very highly in terms of a different type of a player coming into the forward to gain possession, distribute possession. He's a very, very athletic, and now a very mature player. I know he hasn't played for a couple of years. But if you can isolate inside Horgan, Cadigan, or Horgan Lehan, or Cadigan Lehan, and leave space inside in Páirc Uí Chaoimh in their own home pitch, you're in serious difficulty, and particularly if you don't have man markers to take up those type of players. I think it's going to be an intriguing game. I think, Willie, it's a huge game for both of them, because if Cork are beaten, they're playing Limerick away after that. I think they've also to play Clare away. So
Clare are very good at home, yeah.
Clare are unbeatable at home, and so they could be gone out of the Munster Championship, haven't been champions for the last 2 years, and looking like the team that is the biggest threat to Limerick. They could be gone out of the Championship after 2 weeks, and Tip, I think there'll be a huge amount of improvement in Tip. I think it'll be very, very interesting. I think there's been sort of little changes in the way Tip play. Certainly Liam Sheedy will bring a huge intensity to Tip, and that was I just thought over the last couple of years that was one of the things that dragged them back a little bit. Their work rate to work back the field, tracking and tackling and all of that just wasn't at the top. The teams that are at the top wasn't at what they are at, and I think Liam will definitely bring that to them, and I think Eamon O'Shea will bring a game plan to them that'll suit their play. They have incredibly skilled players, and looking at the players that are going to have to leave off sort of would frighten you in its own right. So I think it's a huge game for both teams, to be honest with you, and it's a very difficult one to call. I think if Cork fix some things that and particularly strength and depth in that. I think they're going to be a serious threat this summer. And the grapevines started saying that some of their challenge games, were very high quality and very high intense, even though some of the times they weren't playing their full teams.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is the most difficult preview show we're going to have, because next week we'll have this week's matches where we're trying to. The only thing we can reference now is a league that we're not sure about.
Exactly.
And we don't know full teams, so you're almost still in a league analysis bit. Because that's all you have to go on. Or last year, interesting you said about Liam Sheedy, Cheddar, because he was talking at the Munster Championship launch. I didn't get a chance to go to it. He says, in fairness, we would feel sometimes that maybe our own fans would question our work ethic throughout the pitch, and that's something we would show flashes of. But look, we've all listened behind the old stand and on that sideline, and they do reward honest endeavour, and that's something. He says we have very, very skillful players. It's bringing that and complementing that with a really, really high work ethic, and I think that's where the bar is set in the Munster Championship. So that's what Liam Sheedy has identified. Now there's more to the game now than just that raw work ethic. That should almost be a prerequisite, a given really, because that's what you can control.
The problem with Tip is that they're so skillful. People say, look, they can do anything with the ball, but why aren't they winning games? So they're going to put it down to their work rate, because they're brilliant when they're on the ball.
Sometimes is that an easy excuse?
I just think that's the fallback, because they're so good when they're on the ball. They're probably the most skillful team in Ireland, but why aren't they winning? Why aren't they being successful over the last few years? When I like Cheddar, I find it so hard to call this game. Cork have things that kill the Tip backline, and they really struggle with the pace. Like Lehan, Horgan, Harnedy and Cadigan, the pace and the movement of them four guys alone, that's been killing the Tip backs for the last 2 or 3 years. But I just have this feeling that the Tip have more to prove in this game. I think with Sheedy, the work he's after doing for the last month with the team, I think they're going to come out with something to prove, this Tip team, right? And I can't help but feel that they're going to win. Throughout the league, I've been waiting for them to come out and have this performance, and they've showed small glimpses of it, but they never really backed it up. But I just feel now they've had that breakaway, and I think Liam Sheedy would have done phenomenal work with them over the last month. I know the club, between the club matches, I just think they're going to come out and win. I just think they'll have too much physicality, and I just think if you get that work ethic into them, I think they're going to win.
I think where
Sunday.
Tip have been falling down badly with Cork has been the puck-outs, because Nash has been picking out fellas on the half forward. Lehan especially, that game in Thurles, they destroyed them. Luke Meade, you've Paddy Marr and Ronan Marr, and they didn't have the pace catch up with them. Where the big thing now with Clare and Limerick and these teams is that they're zonally marking these puck-outs, and they're all dropping back half a line. Yeah. So you'll have your half forward line back around midfield, and your two midfielders will be covered. So you have to cover those two wings, Cheddar, the two wing forwards, because it's not going to be the lads playing there that are going to be the targets. It's the lads that are getting out of there and the other lad running in. I think Tip have been very slow on that, where surely Sheedy, with all his analysis work on the Sunday game, he'll have to change. I didn't see enough of Tip this year to know if they go zonal, but I know Clare and Limerick put the hurls up and they drop back half a line. Haven't seen Tip doing that as much, but that's against Nash. They've been pretty naive tactically against him.
Yes, no, I agree with that, Wally. You certainly, I mean, the puck out is so important. I mean, it's clean possessions, maybe 30 clean possessions, pucking out to maybe your forwards and that. So you do definitely need to counter it. I think that hides another little issue, though, Wally, really. And I agree with Michael here. But all of Tip's skill is in their forward line, midfield or forward. And I think the big problem with Tip really in the last couple of years is that their defence isn't strong enough to win enough possessions to put enough quality ball into that forward line, because they will kill you if you can get it in there.
Sorry to interrupt you. They don't have much pace in their back line either, do they?
No, that's the issue. I mean, you go back, they're probably going to end up again with James Barry full back, and I think it's very unfair just to pick on a player here, but that they've had problems at that for a while, and they're going to have the very same problems in the likes of Alan Cadigan and some of these Cork forwards. Their creation of space and their movement into space is unbelievable.
Sorry to interrupt you, Cheddar. They don't have much pace in their backline either.
Yeah, no, that's probably been a fault over the last couple of years. And look, it's I suppose it's allied to the other thing as well in terms of their I suppose their dominance of their backline to win actually possession just in general play. And lots of the time, even just on puckouts, you're chasing around some of the times, even though some teams will do zonal and they'll work, they have a different game plan of how to defend puckouts and that. But if you're chasing around the field and you're not winning possession, well, look, you have the best forwards in the world, but you're not getting enough ball up to them. And I just sense that with Tip, that over the last couple of years they haven't been dominant. Even the interchange in Pádraig Marr and Ronan Marr from 6 and 5, and the James Barry back full back again. And I think it's unfair to comment on this. I don't like commenting on any players, but they've had problems there before, and they're certainly going to have problems on Sunday with the likes of the Pat Horgans, Conor Lehans, and those hanging around. Maybe creating two-man full forward lines, creating space inside, and that. And you're so busy trying to chase them down, and that you're not just winning enough ball. So I'll be interested to see what Liam does with his defence, and I think he's changed already. I mean, Tiff for the last couple of years have played with Noel McGrath as a deep line midfielder, nearly playing a third midfielder in a sense, but he seems now to be playing an out and out midfielder as such, and trying to accommodate, I suppose, Shane McCallan and Jason Ford in the forward line and that. So I think Tip will come with something different in their defence, and I think if they get that right and they tie up the Cork forwards, but not alone that, but win enough primary possession to put the ball up the field, then I think it'll put them in a very good place. Yeah,
okay, lads, predictions here. So how are we going for?
I'm going to go to Tip. I just have that feeling that they're going to come out here with something to prove and blow them off. Well, not blow them off the park. I think they're going to beat them, but I think it's going to be close.
Okay, I'll go Cork. So Cheddar, you have the casting vote.
Look, I'll go with Cork. Obviously the league match was a serious beating, but it's just hard to read something into that. I think there'll be pride in Cork about that match actually, and in Páirc Uí Chaoimh and that. And I just worry a little bit about the pace of the Tip back line. I think if that was different, I might sway me the other way.
Okay, so apologies to Waterford and Clare, lads, but we're just going to have to get predictions on this. We promise we'll cover Waterford and Clare on next Thursday's show. So how do you see this? How do you fancy in this one, lads? Home advantage, massive, small, tight pitch. Yeah. Clare are brilliant, obviously, in Cusack Park, which is a bigger pitch. Yeah. Waterford has become a little bit of a fortress to beat Galway down there and hammer Clare in the league. So I'll just swing for Waterford home advantage.
Home advantage and league form. I'm going to go Waterford.
Okay, Cheddar.
I'd agree with that. League form, particularly Michael. I didn't know that it might not have played that terribly well in the final, but there'll be a huge Waterford crowd there following them, and I think that'll be important. And they're going to be very, very difficult to beat there. But again, hugely important matches for all of them here, because lose your first match and you're under serious pressure after that.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Right, Galway Carlow, lads. This is in Pearse Stadium. Obviously, Carlow got a draw against Galway during the league, but we can't see anything past the Galway win here to put that right in.
Yeah, I think home venue, and I know Carlow had a great draw in the league, but I just think we're too far from. So I'm going to go Galway.
Okay. Cheddar.
No, it is a step up. I think what would be really worthwhile for Carlow is to set up their team to have a very competitive performance. Yes, go for the win. You should never ever go anywhere without you realistically going for the win. But bear in mind the second round is against Kilkenny in Dr. Cullen Park in Carlow. So they've a great year ahead of them. Carlow have. So it'll be interesting to see how they set up in Salt Hill.
Yeah, exactly. So then we have Joe McDonagh Cup. Cheddar, this is the one you're heading to O'Connor Park at 5:00. I might go to this one myself. It is Ross King is back. In fairness to Eddie Brennan, he's coming out. He's not saying we're taking it one game at a time. He's saying it's about being comfortable in saying that, and for the players to set their targets. Your target is to be win your matches and get to the Joe McDonagh Cup final. So he's saying they want to win the Joe McDonagh Cup basically. So I was glad to see that, because that has to be the ambition, and there's no harm in just coming out and saying it.
Oh, I fully agree with that. Look, that's where Laois hurling wants to be, and be confident about that and say it and go for it. I mean, your team has to believe that as well. And look, when you look at the Joe McDonagh, certainly awfully slipped back a lot. I mean, we've all said this over the last year, Willie. They've slipped back a lot. And looking at the league match, I mean, only for Dooley and Bergen coming on the league match, Laois would have beaten them well, and they were dominant in every position in the field. I just think that they live just too much all over the field in every position for Offaly. I know the game's in O'Connor Park, and we're going back now to the point of home venue and that. And I think if Laois, in fairness, when Joe Bergen and Shane Dooley came on the field in that league game, they did change the game.
Yeah, and they're back now, where they're back fully right, rather than just coming back in. They worry you.
Correct, and I think if Laois handle those two, and in the past Laois have handled the two of them in matches, so I think if they handle that on Sunday, they're going to be okay, and they should win the match.
How big of a plus is Ross King back?
Look, Ross King is a fantastically skilled hurler, fantastic man first of all, and a brilliant player. Whether he'll have enough hurling under his belt, going into this game or not, well, look, Saturday will tell. But I'd rate Ross King in terms of skill, touch, finishing, working space, all of the things you need for class forwards. With any forward, he could play in any county in Ireland, to be honest with you.
Right, okay, so it's fantastic that Eddie Brennan got him back. So me and Cheddar are going for Laois. Michael,
go Laois as well. It's just you have to be careful, because Offaly have that game in them every so often where they just everything clicks. Like you seen it with Dublin last year, and it mightn't keep it true, but it could be a very banana skin game for them.
I was reading on the RT previews on the RT website, and Ryan O'Dwyer was asked his surprise of the year, and he said Laois will win the Joe McDonagh Cup, and they'll win the preliminary thing to get into the All-Ireland quarter final. And I went, geez, Ryan, fair play to you.
He loves a bit of controversy.
I said that might have more to do now with Niall coaching Laois more than anything else.
Exactly, they're best mates. Yeah.
So that was a good one. I didn't get that connection, Cheddar. Yeah. So
I know. Look, like Willie Dunphy, Neil File, Stephen Marr, Charlie Dwyer, they're coming into their prime of their life for forwards and that. And look, it's all about doing the job on Saturday, delivering on your promise on Saturday. And I think if they do, they'll just too much. Provided, I think we just alluded to Joe Bergen. I actually saw Joe Bergen playing his first senior championship game for Offaly in full forward in Borough one day, and I was very impressed with him that day and have been ever since. And equally Shane Dooley, brilliant forward. But I think it should be easier to tie down two forwards rather than have to tie down 6 or 7 and two midfielders and so on and that as well. So I'll expect Laois to have the plan to be able to work that out and have enough quality in their forward line to see them through.
Yeah, our own Brian Carroll, interestingly, on that went for Clare to win the All-Ireland, and Jackie Terrell went for Clare to win the All-Ireland as well. So I thought that was interesting. We'll definitely cover Clare. We'll see more of Clare and Waterford this weekend, and we'll cover them. Last one is Antrim Kerry, lads. We'll give a quick prediction on this. That's the last Joe McDonagh Cup match. So that's in Dunloy at 5:00. Two Joe McDonagh Cup games are on at 5:00. Antrim versus Kerry, a bit of a toss-up here for me.
I go Kerry. I know it's an Antrim, but I just feel Kerry have more hurling about them.
Okay, Cheddar.
I think the trip up is massive.
It is massive, yeah.
Obviously, and even I know myself from our own time, travelling up to Ballycastle and Dunleith, not that terribly far away from it. It's a serious journey. Even if you travel the night before, I remember we went up to Hurl one time, which is obviously further, and it was very, very difficult. Just talking about what we're talking about at the start of the show, just to get everything right and get your mindset and your everything right on the day. It's quite difficult. So I think that there's some difficulties for Kerry there, and I think I'd give it to Antrim based on that.
Okay, right. Listen, great stuff, lads. Thanks very much. We'll be back on Monday for our first review show of the year, and then finally we'll have some proper matches to actually analyse. We'll talk to you then. Good luck.